Okay guys, I'm here today with my 1 month 1 palette wrap up for December. If you're getting a little sick of seeing me in this ensemble, I've had to film a few videos today. So this is the last one you're going to see me in this outfit. Anyways, if you don't know, I decided to use the Morphe 350 palette for the month of December, which I had just gotten around Black Friday. So it was really new to me. It hadn't been sitting in my collection. I'd never used it before. So it was a really good time to try it out. I've never had any Morphe shadows before either. This is what it looks like if you're unfamiliar. It is a very, very warm tone palette. It is pretty neutral, but it has like some orangey red type shades. I didn't really know what to expect because the brand Morphe is a little less expensive. So I didn't know if the shadows would be a good quality or if they'd be kind of poor. But overall, I was pretty impressed. So let me go ahead and insert the clips right now of some of the looks I wore. Okay, my first look from the Morphe 350 palette, I decided to go with some of the straight up matte shadows that I normally wouldn't have picked. I took this color all over the lid to kind of provide just like a flat base. I used this light one as my brow bone color. Then over here I took this orange one all over the lid. It's kind of a bit of a burnt orange. I took the darker orange on a touch on the outer corner. I used this as my transition blending out color. And then I used this one that's kind of like that weird baby poop color in my crease to give it a little bit of a different look. So I decided to really just go out of my comfort zone today and pull some of the colors that I wasn't necessarily gravitating towards. Ones I liked, but like these are the ones I can't wait to touch. So I decided to try to stick to the oranges. And I really like how it turned out. Okay, for my second look, I tried to go a little more on the neutral side, but the color I chose ended up being a lot more warm tone than I anticipated. Last time, this was the crease color I used, so today I decided to use this as my crease blending out color. It's a little bit lighter and has a little bit more of a pinky shade. Then I decided to go in with this all over the lid. I thought it would be, I don't know, a little lighter, maybe not quite so warm. I knew it would be warm, but it did pull a little more warmth than I thought. And then I used this just on the outer corner, the tiniest bit. It's matte. I took this to kind of blend out the edges, and I used this on the brow bone. So I'll get closer. Crease. And then these were the two colors on my lid. So overall, still liking it. And I have Clinique Ample Amber on my lower lash line. Okay guys, for this look I decided to go on the complete opposite side of the palette that I've been working on. And I decided to go to the browner side. And I decided I wanted to use this dark bronzy shade, but I thought it might be a little too dark. So I started with this as my crease color. These two are kind of my go-to crease colors. I have used that and it's lovely, which we'll talk about later, but I used that one. And then I went in with this shade on the inner front part of my lid, like right there. And then I took the bronzy shade and I put it on the outer half and kind of blended them together, and then went in with this brow bone shade. So it's kind of a darker bronzy gold, but I like it. Okay, I'm glad I filmed those looks because when I'm looking at it now, it's going to be, I can't go through all the shades like I usually do. This is definitely like the hardest review to do because I can't do shade by shade. I can tell you which ones I've used by looking at them, but I can't necessarily say, oh, I used that one like this, I did that, because there's just so many shadows. But I definitely, this little area, this little quad of kind of like cranberries was where I favored. And then obviously these shadows, because they're nice highlight blending out shades, they were ones I liked as well. Overall, I'm going to go through some of the shades and talk about them. But if you have a large collection of MAC eyeshadows and you think you have some that look similar, then you can skip this. If you don't have a lot of single shadows and everything you have as palettes, then you may want to pick this up, because there's no palettes that I can think of that are dupes to this. Like the Urban Decay Naked or the Too Faced Chocolate Bar. There's definitely, they're different because this has so many warm and orange type shades. But if you have a bunch of singles, if you've been buying MAC shadows for a really long time, or Makeup Geek or any brand really, then you may have a lot of comparable ones, and this is probably skippable in that sense. But it's still a really nice palette to own because everything's here together. But that's why I mentioned that about the MAC, in case you know, have them all in a palette. Or if you know somebody that doesn't have a lot of shadows and you know they really like warm ones, this might be worth picking up. It is a really nice palette. The only shades that the texture was just kind of bad were the really, really shimmery shades. Like this one and that one. The texture, I mean, it wasn't like awful, but any eyeshadow that's like super shimmery like that, glittery, the texture's not the best. I need to quit flipping it around. And then these two shades were just great blending out shades. You saw those in the looks. These oranges, I used those. They were good. That kind of poopy brown one. It's kind of similar to Makeup Geek Desert Sands. It was a really good one. These cranberry shades I liked a lot. I didn't really use these matte darker browns because they're just not a look. I mean, they're just not a shadow I pull for my everyday look. But that's fine with me, even if I don't touch these in the palette, because there's still so much. It's a good travel palette. I mean, it's large, but you have everything in the world you need. You could even, I mean, you could have an eyebrow color in here. You could have a contour color in here. I don't know if I would go so far as to say you have a blush color in here, but you might work with something. Any of these lighter shades, I'm sure you could use as an under eye setting powder. It was a really great palette. I really enjoyed it. I'm not wearing it today because today's New Year's Eve. I decided to be like a little fancy, and I pulled out my Tom Ford quads today because I hadn't used them in such a while because I've been using all of my palettes. Which leads me to this. Okay, first off, final thoughts. If you have a ton of single shadows that are warm, you do not need this. But if you really like warm shadows and you don't have a lot, and the ones you have are just like in random palettes here and there, then pick it up. It's worth it. I mean, especially for the price. I think I said it was like $29, but I think it was like $29 with shipping and everything. It's definitely a good price. The shadows are decent quality. They're not bad at all. Don't let it scare you off, because I know some people thought it was going to be like Coastal Scents quality. I think it's better than Coastal Scents, personally. So, anyways, this is my last 1 month, one palette for a pretty long time. This was actually the last palette I had. And then if I was going to continue it, it was going to have to be like quads or singles or duos or whatnot. And since I am having a baby in January, I didn't want to commit to doing something like that. So I said definitely January and February I'm not going to do anything. Well, I ended up getting a few palettes for Christmas. So, since I do have a few newer palettes, I will probably pick this back up maybe in March, maybe in April. We'll see. I don't want to abandon this series completely because I do like it, but I also don't want to, you know, having a newborn, I don't want to commit myself to something like this because I have to make sure that I, you know, use a palette pretty consistently so I can tell you the reviews on all the shades. I try to come up with some looks, and I just don't know how much makeup wearing I'm going to be doing. Plus, I just really want to play with some of my other shadows for a bit. I enjoyed this series, but I think October was a year I'd been doing it. So I've been doing it a little over a year, and I just want to play with some of my stuff. But I think come March, I'll be ready to dip my toes back in and use some of the palettes I got for Christmas. Since, I'll go ahead and tell you, I did get the Too Faced Chocolate Bonbon palette for Christmas and the Anastasia Self-Made palette. I also got the Visart matte palette, but that's not a palette I would want to do a 1 month, one palette on, I don't think. I don't know. If y'all really wanted me to, then I might would. But anyways, the Chocolate Bonbon and the Anastasia one, I definitely would like to do a 1 month, one palette on those. I may mix the Anastasia and the Visart or Visart one together, because I think I would need like a companion one for that. But we'll just see as the time comes. And then, like I said, if I get any other palettes throughout the year, I'll definitely do that. I think it would be easier to jump on board and, like, you know, for the month of September, do a 1 month, 1 palette. I just got, not burnt out, but I'm just ready to play freely. But it's a great way, if you have a lot of palettes and you're kind of wanting to purge some and you're not sure, it is a great way to, like, really give your palette a lot of use and really decide if you love a palette or not. Because sometimes you think you do, but if you use it consecutively for a whole month, then you may be like, yeah, this is a great palette, or no, this really isn't for me. It is a great thing. If you are, like, unsure, and I know a lot of people are doing paying that palette, but I really think this is a good way to, you know, do something like that. So if you don't do any of the paying the palettes, then try a 1 month, 1 palette and just see how it goes. It's really not as hard as it seems. I mean, to me, I know a lot of people are like, I couldn't use 1 palette for a whole month, but it wasn't hard. It really wasn't. So anyways, that is all. I really enjoyed doing this series for you all. Don't worry, I will revisit again because I know I think this is, like, probably my most popular video that I do, but I really enjoyed it. So that's all for now, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.